So we're good to go. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here, everyone. It's fun to see some of the faces that are here, that have come to be here with us today. This is a special moment for us to recognize and honor something that doesn't happen every day in the radio business. And that is to recognize Al Lewis and Jennie Christianson for their long time of service with KVNU Radio. It's not unheard of to see someone be in broadcasting or any particular business for 45 years. That in and of itself is a remarkable achievement. But it doesn't happen with regularity at all in the broadcast business. We see people that get into broadcasting and they move on for some other reason, or move on to a different radio station for some other reason. It's extremely rare that you find two people that are at the same station for the same amount of time like Jennie and Al have done. So 45 years of broadcast excellence. And before we get into too much, can we just give a round of applause to them for what they do? First of all, I guess by way of introductions, I should have done this first. My name is Eric Franson, and I'm the Vice President of Operations for the Cache Valley Media Group. I tried to get Kent to MC this, but he refused. So I guess that's the honor of being his eldest son, and I get the short stick for that. But he will speak later, so we did get him to do that. The way this program will go as follows: I'm just going to say a few things just to set up what we're doing here tonight. Then we will have a formal introduction and induction to the Utah Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame by Dale Zabriskie. He is the past president of Utah Broadcasters Association, still very much involved. And then the actual presentation of the certificate to Jennie will be done by Michelle Zabriskie, the current president of Utah Broadcasters Association. And then at that time, even though she doesn't want to, and she's very uncomfortable by this, we will have Jennie Christianson come up and say a few words to accept that recognition and that honor. And then in a similar order, we'll do the same thing for Al. And then at the conclusion, we're going to invite Ken Franson, our president, CEO, and owner of the Cache Valley Media Group, to come up and share a few words about tonight's events and what it means for all of us. In 2010, Kent actually was inducted into the Utah Broadcasters Hall of Fame. I wasn't really familiar with what that was at that time. When he was recognized, we thought, wow, what a cool honor. That was really neat. I'm not even sure how he got nominated, but somebody did. It wasn't us. But at that moment, it got me thinking about, gosh, who else do we have in our organizations that they too could be recognized? And I immediately thought of Al and Jennie. I wasn't going to do this. But, here are two people that are consummate professionals. They come to work every day, and no matter what's going on in their personal lives, and give 110%. And that rubs off on all of us. And I can't appreciate that more. And here are two people that, every day they come in and they lead by example. They get the job done, and we all have to try to keep up with them. In March, earlier this year, I reached out to Dale and Michelle and said, hey, I don't know what the process is. I don't know if there's a formal application process or what we need to do, but if you're still doing the Utah Broadcasters Hall of Fame, would you consider these two? They do a lot, and 45 years is a milestone. That's an amazing accomplishment. And I heard back from Dale, and he said, we've kind of had to put the Hall of Fame program on hold for a little while. There's, with some funding or some things like that, we've had to reduce a few things that we do, and unfortunately that's one of them. And naturally, I was really disappointed. I was sad to hear that. I thought, well, that's a bummer. then maybe we can do something ourselves for the Cache Valley Media Group to honor these two. Then it was the following week, I don't know, something over the weekend must have sat with him, and he gave me a call back. He said, you know what, Eric, we need to do something. If you guys can arrange something, if you can put some things together, if you can find a venue, we will do what we can to make this happen. That's quite an achievement that they've had. So thank you, Dale and Michelle, for allowing us to make this happen. From that time, we've been working on the venue and how we can do all this. By the way, special thanks to Steph Swainston on our crew. She's been very dedicated through all this. It hasn't been really her baby to make this happen, but I made it her baby, and she took care of everything for us. I really appreciate that. But anyway, this is a special event for Al and Jennie. I'll get out of the way. The night is for them. And I'm going to turn some time over now to Dale Zabriskie with Utah Broadcasters Association.
The reason we thought we had to go ahead and do this, even though it was, I first told Kent that we'd have to wait, was because of these two people are such classic examples of what local broadcasting is in this whole country. It's localism is the term we use, and the fact that there are so many of you here tonight to honor these two people is indicative that we're on the right track. Because if you live in Cache Valley, you want to listen to Jennie on the radio, and if there's a football game on, you want to listen to all the broadcasts, tell you what's going on. And everybody in town knows them and knows their voice, and so that's why we're here tonight, and we appreciate your all being here with us. It is my honor to formally induct Jennie Christianson into the Utah Broadcasters Hall of Fame. She has been with KVNU for 45 years, or has already been there for 45 years. It says here she turned 87 years old in January and still comes to work every day at 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning. She's arriving at work, not stirring, not deciding whether she's going to get up. She's at work. She's there to produce news for Cache Valley Media Group. Her stories are used by all the stations in the group, not just KVNU, and also appear on CacheValleyDaily.com. She religiously attends city and county council meetings in the evening. She still produces more unique news content every day than anyone else on the staff at the stations. Political and community leaders all know her and take her call. If I were a local politician, I would take her call and thank her for calling me. Jennie has also been recognized as Citizen of the Year by Logan City, as Homecoming Grand Marshal by Utah State University, received numerous other awards for civic and nonprofit organizations for her untiring devotion to quality journalism and shedding a light on important topics in our community. Simply stated, Jennie Christianson is an institution, and now she's a member of Utah Broadcasters Hall of Fame. So Michelle, come up and make the motion.
Oh, yeah.
Give you this certificate and then this microphone. So if it helps, you can turn this way and talk into it. Give your speech. So I guess we can pose for the photo over there. Good look at your fans.
Eric was certainly right. This isn't the kind of thing that I like to do, but it is the kind of thing, the very few people get the privilege to do. And I am so grateful to all of you for coming out and making this such a very important evening in my life. I want to thank the whole staff of KVNU, but I have to say that a couple of them really stand out because I work with them so closely, and that's Eric, who is right across the desk from me and puts up with all my shenanigans and corrects all my errors. And of course, our boss and owner, Kent, he's wonderful. When I couldn't drive anymore, at least my kids told me I couldn't drive anymore. He just took care of that. Taxi cab actually picks me up and gets me to work at 4:30 every morning. And then I go home, quite an opposite kind of transportation, in the Sunshine Terrace bus. So both are fun, and I really appreciate them both. It's been an exciting life to be in the broadcasting business. You know now my age, I can't hide that. And when I first started, the first celebrity I ever got to talk to, I had to think about it for a long, long time. And you know who it was? Harry Truman. I bet there are people here who don't know who Harry Truman was. But he spoke at night on a warm summer evening. I don't remember who brought him here, someone from the university. And then I got to talk to him after, and it was really exciting. And since then, I've got to talk to other presidents. Of course, Gerald Ford was here. And since his son was here, we got to see him several times. I loved Betty Ford. And when she spoke herself at Utah State University, I didn't want to use the tape because we listened back and her words were slurring together. And we knew that she had had prescription drugs because she had terrible headaches, a disease that was causing them. It wasn't long after that before she got for some help. And then, as you all know, she helped thousands of other people get over their addictions to prescription drugs, and I will just love her forever for that. And it isn't just celebrities. I've loved everybody while I was doing my morning show. I used to tell my husband and family members I had never interviewed a person that I didn't really like. And I think we find that out. The more we get to know everybody and the more you talk to them long enough to know something important that they're doing with their lives. I hope that we still have freedom of the press, because I read today that we're celebrating the 45th anniversary of freedom of the press this year too. So I hope they'll be around for a while. Sometimes I worry when I hear Donald Trump talk about our fake news. Don't think you should keep that up. But it has been quite a life, and I am so grateful for any of you and all of you that have been a part of it. And I just want you to know it certainly has been the best 45 years of my life.
I don't think anybody has to worry about fake news originating from Jennie's reports on KVNU. Okay. Al Lewis has been with KVNU also 45 years this spring. Sports has always been Al's passion. He was a long-time play-by-play voice of the Logan High Grizzlies, and at one time even called play-by-play of a community baseball team. He is unquestionably best known for his love of the Utah State Aggies. This season, Al called his 1,000th Aggie broadcast and was honored during the game for the special plaque from USU. Not only is Al the voice of the Aggies, but he is the voice that people wake up to when people want to know what's going on in their community. He has been the morning host for KVNU for decades, delivers news, weather, and sports updates every morning with tremendous skill, is often asked to MC special events in the community when people know they want a seasoned pro. I was interviewed on the radio station just before you all came here and pointed out that radio has been declared dead several times in its history, and it's still flourishing. We had a national meeting in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and they told us that in the United States of America, age group 18 to 54, 92% of the people listen to the radio on a regular basis. And the reason they do is because people like Jennie and Al, who bring the local community to life, keep everybody advised of what's happening in their community, and giving voice to people who make things happen locally. Localism, localism, localism. That's the history and backbone of broadcasting. So Al, come up, and Michelle.
I always adjust Jennie's microphone every morning when I get there. You can tell she likes to move it around a little bit, so I always try to keep it in the same spot for her. It really is a privilege to come in with Jennie Christianson into the Broadcast Hall of Fame too. She started about 2 months before I did at KVNU. I think we figured that out. And I grew up with the kids in her family. Ross, her husband's one of the greatest people I've ever known. And so it's special to have this opportunity. You know, I was thinking about this today. Probably, what was I, 5 or 6 long? I got Tinker Toys for Christmas. And the first thing I think I built out of Tinker Toys was a microphone. And would sit there, and my grandpa was a big fan of sports, and I think I tried to do games that were on TV, and I remember in junior high, one of my friends is here, I see back there, he missed junior high's basketball team, but a couple of us got cut as the last basketball players. We weren't quite good enough to play the team, so we got to be managers. And for that Christmas, that year, I got a tape recorder, one of the new cassette recorders. And so me and some of you know Mike Parson, and some of you know Kim Watts, we were the 3 of us that were the managers, and we would broadcast the junior high game sitting on the bench, and then we'd drive home on the bus, and all the team would listen to it. And it was real, I mean, there was nothing bad in there, but it was colorful. Because there were more interesting stories than sometimes you could even tell on some of the stuff on the radio. But we had a lot of fun with that. And then when I went to Las Vegas, moved from Logan before I went to college here at Utah State. My dad got a job in Las Vegas, and I went to high school in Las Vegas. And fortunately down there, my parents, one of their best friends when I was growing up was Carl Cloggis. Some of you remember Carl. He was the voice of the Aggies when Merle Olsen played. And then my next door neighbor before I moved from Logan was Reed Andreasen, who was the voice of the Aggies when Wayne Estes played. And so as a kid, I would always get programs, media guides, information from these guys. And so this is always what I wanted to do. So in Las Vegas, a friend of mine, his dad was the sports director on Channel 3 in Las Vegas. I went to high school with him. He said, well, my dad, you go over and talk to my dad about sports broadcasting. So I went over to Channel 3 in Las Vegas and talked to him for a while. And he said, hey, I just talked to this Bat Henderson. He owned a radio station in Las Vegas. He wants to do some high school games, and he wants to do a weekend sports show. He doesn't have anybody to do it. And I immediately found the address, ran over there. And within a couple of weeks, I interviewed Lee White, who had just played in the Super Bowl for the Jets, who's a Weber State running back. Not too long after that, we went out and did a weekend where we interviewed like Paul Newman and Parnelli Jones, who were there for the Men 400. the racing things, and you just got a chance in Las Vegas to have some of these people. I caddied in a golf tournament, and in our group was Joe DiMaggio, played golf in our group that I caddied for the lady professional, and so you got a chance to, I could get a few interviews for my weekend sports show, and then I came on vacation to Logan one weekend, and then went back, and when I went back, the radio station had been sold. I was out of a job. They weren't doing any more sports. So, but when I came to Logan, Reed Andreasen was still in charge of KVNU, and I called him and I said I'd done radio, so I got a chance to get in at Utah State, or at KVNU. And my first job was working Saturdays and Sundays, playing whatever records I wanted to, almost from their library, and giving the news once in a while. Craig Hislop got hired about the same exact time I started KVNU. He came back as Utah State hired him to do the games as Gary Evans had left Logan, who had followed Reed Andreasen as the Aggie announcer. And so I got a chance to meet Craig, and I started helping him do some games. I was helping Reed Andreasen do Logan High games, and then Reed Andreasen lost. They decided to make a change at KVNU, and I forever am indebted to Carl Klages, Reed Andreasen, to Dick Gregg in Las Vegas, somebody like Craig Hislop, and these people who gave me an opportunity to get started as a young person into broadcasting. It's been fun doing games. There's a picture of, some of you may remember a personality we had at KVNU a long time ago, Hawkeye Mendenhall. He and I sitting in a trunk doing a high school baseball game one time because it was raining, and that was the only place we could get covered up to stay out of the rain. I've done high school football games in snow where the first half it snowed so hard that I had no stats. I had a roster of the opposing team on the back of the guy's slicker who was sitting in front of me in the stands, so I could tell who the other team was. And then in the second half, it got so cold after it quit snowing that half of us were all frozen with the snow where the blizzard came in, and trying to keep equipment dry. And then eventually, of course, moved to the Aggies in the 70s for a couple of years, and then got a chance in 1995 when Chuck Bell decided to hire me as the Aggie announcer, and ever since then, of course, been voice of the Aggies along with KVNU. At KVNU, I've done everything. Except for where's Paul, our engineer? Paul, I can't do what Paul does. I can't fix the station. I can't make it run. But I've done about every other job, including and the thing is, I work now for 2 Hall of Famers. Reed Bullen was my first boss at KVNU, and now Ken Franson, my second boss. I see Tom Wyertz. I did high school or Aggie football. The first couple of years I did Aggie football. Tom helped me do the Aggie football games. Of course, worked with Craig on a lot of games. Chris Tunis. We've had Rod Toolers sitting back here. Done a lot of basketball with him. Had Tom Naselke a couple of years. Great fun people to work with. And I see many, Stu and Tim and other coaches. A couple of them have texted me today. They couldn't come, and there's so many people. I have Nick and Chad who keep me going on road games. Sometimes when I can't carry the equipment, and I appreciate those guys coming today. My wife Teresa puts up with all my travel and all my commiserating about, and all my work. I work at KVNU, and then I go home and do the Aggie stuff. It's kind of the way it works. I've turned, you never know how radio's going to work out. I started playing records and being a DJ, and probably wasn't suited for that, but it's been fortunate that it's worked into news talk, and it changed there in the 90s for KVNU. James and Bill Walter, James Murdoch, we probably worked together, all of us, about as long. Lynn Simmons, ever since we moved to the building, he's been on mornings on Kicks. So a lot of us have been together a long, long time. And the reason is because it's a great group to work for. It's a fun place to be. It's great to be able to let people know things that might be or could be interesting in their lives, or things that have happened. having fun with things. Every day, it's not easy waking up. Jennie gets there at 4:30. Craig and I aren't too far behind, but she's ahead of us. It's not easy getting up early as the years go on, but once you're there, it's the best time of the day to work. You can just tell everybody's getting revved up and getting going, and you're there to tell them something or throw out something or something weird, something crazy. It's a lot of fun, and I've had a ball, and I still am having a ball doing what I'm doing. This isn't by any ways going to hopefully be a retirement in any way for both Jennie and I, right, Jennie?
Right now.
Is it?
Not right now.
We're not going to make an announcement. I don't think Jennie cannot come in and put the news together every single day. And I know Craig appreciates it, I appreciate it, and the other stations appreciate it as well. So thank you to UBA, Utah Broadcasters, and thank you to friends here, thank you to family members. My son's here today, my mom. Appreciate all of you, and we appreciate the listeners who make our day very special by listening to KVNU and our other radio stations, and we hope we continue to do the job for you because we love doing what we do. Thank you.
So on the way up, I was thinking about the 45 years, and the quote from the Mary Poppins movie, which happens to be one of my favorites, popped to mind. And so I looked so I could get it exact, and it's in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. And why that popped into my mind was some of the things that Eric was talking about. How do you come and do a job for 45 years? Well, you have to have fun, and it's been illustrated by both Jennie and Al's remarks. So I also wanted to couple that theme with, in my job as president of the UBA, 3 letters come to mind, and in the broadcasting field. Those 3 letters are the FCC. Now, today is great because I get to concentrate on 3 other letters, HOF, the Hall of Fame. And as Dale's alluded, having Jennie and Al as a reference point when we go meet with the leaders and the FCC to say, look what these guys are doing and look what the value that they're bringing to their community, it makes my job easier. So I want to thank you guys for helping make my job easier. It's a great honor to recognize both of you and for your dedication, your professionalism, and your talents. And it's with great honor that I welcome you into the Utah Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Dale mentioned that we've taken a couple of years off, but historically we've had this event down at the University of Utah. And when Eric presented this to us, and Dale came up with the idea of, well, let's do this in the community where more of the people who are impacted and on a daily basis can be here. And so I don't think we're ever going to go back to the University of Utah. I think we're going to look for this format, whether it's in St. George or Vernal or whatnot. But because where is Kent? I can't even see him. There he is, he's hiding. But I just wanted to recognize Kent as a member of our Hall of Fame and present him to you, even though that was back in 2010 that we honored him. So I want everyone to give Kent a round of applause. So thanks again, and I'm going to turn it over to Kent. And I also want to give Kent this plaque that has Al and Jennie's name on it to hang at the station, because every time we come up, we like to see all your memorabilia that's hanging there. So.
Microphone is
It's asking.
coming undone. Wow, what an evening, and thank you all for being here and sharing this night with us. And we're so honored that Al and Jennie are being honored tonight. They're very deserving of it, to say the least. I was reflecting about the journey that we've each had. I remember back in the mid-70s that I had a family living here, a brother that was living here, and we'd come through to visit. And KVNU was a radio station that we noticed. It had low dial position, which was very desirable in AM radio. And it had, I think at that time, 5,000 watts, and now it has 10. But anyway, you could hear this radio station everywhere. I worked at a radio station in Sun Valley back when in my 20s. And I remember I was raised in eastern Idaho, and I was coming home for a Thanksgiving holiday, and I drove into the town of Cary, Idaho, and I scanned the dial, just searching for radio stations, and 610, and then it just jumped off the dial. I could hear that just like a local. And so I become very aware of KVNU early on. And in the mid-70s, when I would come through, I would listen to the station, and I thought, wow, man, would that be something to have? You know, that is really a prize. And so anyway, and my wife and I, our kids were small, and we had a desire to move to Logan. We thought it would be a little better environment to raise kids than where we were. And so we were looking for an opportunity to invest in the market in radio. And KVNU was not available at the time, and so we bought another station, which was a competing station. It was then called KBLW, I believe. We bought it from the Merrill family. And anyway, as you're buying property and investing like you are like that, you're going to be very mindful of the competition that's across the street. And so we would listen critically to KVNU. And one of the things I noticed right away is there was a guy on that radio station that sounded dang good. And I'm going to be a competitor to him. And how are we going to deal with this? And we also had a radio station at that time in Blackfoot, Idaho. So I asked our manager up there to call this guy named Al Lewis and see if we can get him out of the market. And anyway, he did. And he called me right back. He says, he isn't going anywhere. He's a KVNU, committed to KVNU, and he's an Aggie. So you're not good luck on that. So we struggled with that problem, and we finally resolved it about 18 years later when we acquired KVNU. And we determined that if you can't bring Muhammad to the mountain, you better bring the mountain to Muhammad. And so that's what we ended up doing, and believe me, it's been a great ride with you, Al, and Jennie. The other thing I noticed when we bought the stations was this radio station had an unusual amount of local news content. And that's hard to do, particularly in smaller markets, but it was unusually active. And I later come to understand that Jennie Christianson was the machinery, or the machine behind all of that activity. And I've heard Al say it, and I believe it, that she produces more news content. Probably would take 3 other people to be able to equivalently provide the content, as much content as she's able to generate on a daily basis. And she's I come to understand that Jennie's very well connected in the community, knows everybody, and just as she commented, some of the celebrities that she's been able to interview, when people like Senator Hatch, any of the congressional delegations come to town, one of the first people they reach out to is Jennie Christianson, because they know her, they respect her, they love her, as do we. And we just have been so honored to be able to ride together with Al and Jennie. You know, when you buy a radio station, I don't mean to bore you here, you buy some assets. And some of those assets are microphones and transmitters and towers and audio consoles. Back then we bought turntables and we bought cart machines. It's changed a little bit since that. And those are important assets to be able to generate a signal and have a presence on the radio dial. But the most important assets we bought, that we acquired, is the better way to say it, is Al Lewis, Jennie Christianson, some other people with us also that Al mentioned, James Murdoch, Bill Walter, also Paul Anderson, who was with us. Paul's been away from us at times, but he's back with us. But these are wonderful assets. That's what we bought. That's what we got that really had value, were these people. And we also added to that radio family significantly with some other awesome people that are a part of our organization, and many of them are here tonight. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you, Dale, and Michelle, to accommodate us here and to come up here and to do this here. We appreciate all of you for coming. We appreciate again Al and Jennie, and I don't know what else to say. I guess I'll turn it back maybe to you, Eric. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you again for being here. Again, congratulations to Jennie Christianson and Al Lewis. Not only professionals at their craft, but true mentors to many of us who work with them every day. We also have some tokens of appreciation that we'd like to give to Al and Jennie, and we'll handle that afterwards. But again, thank you so much to all of you for coming. I hope you have a chance to personally come and thank Al and Jennie if you have a chance, and we'll have a public reception here getting underway just moments from now. But again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Jennie. Thank you, Al. Well deserved. I can't think of anybody who deserves it more. Thank you again.